Welcome, enlightened one. I'm glad you're here because you will discover the true secret to happiness. Buddha used to reflect deeply and said that peace is not something you find, it's what emerges when your inner noise quiets. That's why these Buddhist stories have crossed centuries. They're not just beautiful tales, they are maps guiding us back home, back to ourselves. One of the most powerful stories begins with Buddha sitting silently under the Bodhi tree when an angry man approached. The man shouted, accused, tried to provoke him. Buddha simply looked at him with compassion and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, to whom does it belong?" The man, confused, replied, "To the one who offered it." And Buddha concluded, "So it is with your insults. I do not accept them." This tiny story holds immense power. It teaches that calmness comes not from controlling others, but from mastering our own response. And that, my friend, is freedom. That kind of wisdom is like a secret button inside us. Have you ever tried responding differently, even when everything inside screamed to explode? It's hard, I know, but that's where transformation begins. Buddha wasn't magical. He was like you and me, someone who learned to quiet the internal noise through meditation and presence. And the good news? You can too. Start small. Instead of grabbing your phone at the first moment of boredom, pause, breathe, observe. Just 5 deep breaths can shift your frequency. That's when the soul begins to remember who it is. Another ancient story tells of a restless young man who sought enlightenment. He walked for days to find Buddha and asked desperately, "How long do I need to meditate to become enlightened?" Buddha answered, "Maybe 10 years. The young man insisted, "And if I dedicate myself twice as hard?" Buddha smiled, "Then maybe 20. The boy was confused. "Why more?" Buddha replied, "Because your eagerness to arrive takes you further from the path." How powerful is that? How many times have you pressured yourself for not being peaceful enough? The anxiety to find calmness destroys the calm. Wisdom lies in allowing yourself to be as you are right now. And this isn't just poetic philosophy. Neuroscience backs it up. When you meditate, your brain literally rewires. Areas related to compassion, focus, and peace become more active. Science only confirmed what the ancients already knew. Sometimes our minds feel like a crowded city at rush hour. Horns, voices, urgency, chaos. But Buddha taught that even amid the noise, we can hear the sound of silence. He illustrated this with a muddy glass. When someone stirred the glass, it became cloudy. But when left still, the mud settled. The water became clear. So it is with the mind. You don't need to chase peace. It appears when you stop stirring. And the first step can be now. Close your eyes for 3 minutes. Just listen, just breathe, just be. It's funny because when you begin to hear that inner silence, something changes. The world remains the same. Difficult people, challenges, but you are different. like that story where Buddha walked through a forest and saw a venomous snake. Anyone else would panic, but he simply stepped aside. No anger, no fear, no attachment. Sometimes wisdom means not fighting, but just stepping out of the way. And if you're dealing with pain, sadness, emotional exhaustion right now, know that you are not alone, nor are you broken. These emotions are part of life. Buddha himself felt deep sorrow upon realizing the world's suffering. The difference is, he used that pain to awaken. You can do the same. Instead of asking, "Why me?" try asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That shift in question can open doors that have been closed for years. Remember this: the peace you seek isn't out there. It's within you, dormant, waiting for you to pause and listen. Buddha whispers in the silence, and when you finally hear it, everything shifts. There's one lesson from Buddha that no one forgets after hearing it. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. It sounds harsh, but when you truly understand it, something changes inside. Imagine someone carrying a backpack full of rocks, always complaining about the weight, but never putting it down. That's how many live, feeling the pain of loss, rejection, injustice, and reliving it over and over again. Pain comes and goes. Suffering is the repetition we choose. There's a story of Kisa Gotami, a mother who lost her child. In despair, she searched for someone who could bring him back to life. She reached Buddha, who told her, "Bring me a mustard seed from a home where no one has lost a loved one." She searched, but returned empty-handed. In every house, there was grief. That's when she understood pain is universal. We all suffer, but what we do with that pain, that transforms us. Buddha also said, holding on to anger is like holding a burning coal with the intent to throw it at someone. You are the one who gets burned. And that is what we do with resentment. Letting go isn't easy, but every time you release even a little, you free yourself. Maybe it's through writing a letter you never send, through whispering forgiveness to yourself, through accepting what can no longer be changed. That's where calm begins. This doesn't mean feelings are wrong. The opposite, actually. Real meditation begins when you allow yourself to feel without attachment. Sadness comes? Feel it, but don't drown. Anger arises? Breathe, but don't act on it. It's like a cloud. It passes, always. Meanwhile, you observe, you learn, you grow. Pain may knock, but suffering only grows if you feed it. When you understand this, it changes how you live, how you love, because you stop trying to control and begin to trust. And that is a kind of power no one can take from you. The world is asking you to breathe again, to make room for peace. If you allow it, something deeper will be revealed. Have you noticed how silence makes us uncomfortable? We enter an elevator and immediately start talking, sit at home alone and instinctively turn on the TV. But Buddha taught silence is not emptiness, it is fullness, full of answers, healing.
insight. There's a famous story where Buddha remained silent while everyone awaited a sermon. He simply held up a flower and smiled. At that moment, one disciple understood. No words needed. Sometimes what you need isn't more noise, but less inner static. Silence is where the heart speaks clearly. When we quiet down inside, the soul begins to whisper. And what does it say? That you don't need to rush so much, prove so much, defend so much. You just need to be. But the ego screams, the mind argues, the wounds demand explanations. That's why silence is hard. But ironically, it's in that silent space that you regain power. The power to choose your response, to avoid falling into provocation, to stop feeding useless drama. The true master is not the one who wins the debate. It's the one who no longer needs to enter it. Buddhist monks practice something called the vow of silence, not as punishment, but as devotion. They go days without speaking to listen. You can apply this even in a noisy city. What about starting with 1 hour a day? No speaking, no replying, just observing. At first, it'll feel strange, but soon you'll notice. Your body slows down, your mind clears, your emotions find their place. That's the power of silence. It's as if Buddha gently whispers, "Stop, just stop." And in that pause, calm arrives effortlessly. Remember that situation that usually drives you crazy? Next time, try this. Pause. Breathe 3 times. Look. Be silent. Silence disarms, reveals, protects. You don't need to prove your point every time. You don't need to explain everything to everyone. Sometimes the best argument is silence, because silence holds a dignity that shouting never will. In many Buddhist stories, the disciples only understood the lesson after days of silence. Then the answer came. Because, as Buddha said, within you are all the answers, but you must be quiet to hear them. There is peace in chaos, a breeze of calm in the storm. Because silence is like a still lake, it reflects everything. But if the surface is agitated, you see nothing. So, allow yourself that silence, even if just for a few minutes, because in that silence, a new way of being is born. Perhaps the hardest truth to accept is this: as long as you fight what is, you are losing. We grew up believing that salvation would come from outside, that someone would fix it all, that life would one day magically fall into place. But Buddha was clear: no one can save you. No one can walk the path for you, not even him. There's a classic story. A disciple begged Buddha to free him from suffering. The master looked at him, full of compassion, and said, "I show you the path, but you must walk it." That's one of life's great truths. Most people are still waiting to be understood, to be validated, to feel safe. But Buddha taught,
Waiting is a cage. Freedom begins when you choose to act, even afraid, even uncertain, even tired. It's not about being pain-free. It's about not letting the pain define you. Suffering may have shaped you, but it doesn't have to be your identity.
Liberation starts the moment you stop being a victim and start awakening. And yes, that takes courage. There was once a man locked in a dark cell. He screamed, cried, resisted, until in a moment of silence he noticed the door had never been locked. He only needed to push. So many people live locked in beliefs they never questioned. I'm not good enough. It will always be this way. I don't deserve. But who told you that? When did you start believing it? Meditation is not just for relaxing, it's for seeing. And when you see clearly, you begin to break free. To take responsibility for your own freedom is not to blame yourself for everything. On the contrary, it's empowerment. It's looking at your story and saying, yes, that happened, but now I choose how I go forward. And that choice doesn't have to be extreme. It can begin with small steps. Turning off autopilot, choosing what you consume, letting go of painful narratives, forgiving yourself for taking so long. That's liberation. Buddha taught awakening comes when we get tired of suffering and choose to wake up. You know that moment after a deep realization when you think, I was asleep. Asleep emotionally, spiritually, existentially. But when awareness returns, it's like lighting a candle in a dark room. Everything becomes visible, and there's no going back. So, if something inside you is ready to change, or better, ready to be free, listen to it. Because that desire is sacred, and it's leading you to the next step of your journey. Buddha once said, the root of suffering is attachment. And as much as it hurts to hear that, this phrase is a map to freedom. Think about it. When you fight against reality, you wear yourself out. You fight because someone left, because the job ended, because the body got sick. But life never promised control. It only promised movement. And when you stop resisting, you begin to dance with what is. That's when peace, the kind that even calms the body, begins to arise. One day, a master was walking by a river and saw something happening. A disciple wanted to cross quickly, but there was a current. He insisted, struggled, almost drowned. The master silently sat and waited. After a while, the current eased. They crossed peacefully. And then the master said, sometimes strength is in waiting. This story teaches us that not all paths require force. Some situations in life resolve when you stop stirring. And that's not weakness, it's wisdom.
It's a deep form of meditation, accepting the moment exactly as it is. When you begin to accept, your body relaxes, your heart softens, your mind slows down, because you're no longer spending energy trying to control the uncontrollable. Of course, we're not talking about passivity. It's not about surrendering to suffering. It's about accepting what is so you can transform from there. Like being in a storm, fighting it only drains you. But if you protect yourself, quiet down and observe, you move through it and you come out stronger. Buddha called this the middle path, the balance between effort and surrender. Want to start practicing this? Look at where you resist the most. It might be your routine, your relationship, your thoughts. And then, instead of reacting the same way, take a deep breath and ask, what is life trying to show me here? That simple question already shifts your energy. And little by little, you realize that peace is not the absence of problems, it's the absence of inner struggle. The most powerful meditation videos are those that teach this gently. How to stop being the tired warrior and become the wise one who walks lightly. And maybe what you're really looking for isn't a miracle or an answer, but just a moment of silence within. A pause in the conflict, a reconciliation with your own existence. And when you feel that, everything changes. Not because the world changed, but because you did inside. And that quiet change prepares your heart for the next discovery, one you may not even imagine yet. You know that voice constantly talking in your head, the one that criticizes, compares, creates fear and failure scenarios? Yeah, Buddha taught with calm firmness, you are the sky. Your thoughts are just clouds. And that changes everything. Because most people believe they are what they think, but thoughts are like guests. They come in, stay a bit, and then they leave. The problem is when we cling to them as if they were absolute truths. But they're not. They're just sounds in the mind. You can observe them without identifying with them. There's a powerful story about this. A disciple once said, "Master, my mind is chaos." And Buddha replied, "Then sit and watch the chaos. Don't fight it." The disciple did so day after day until he realized the chaos came and went, that he, the observer, was always the same. That's one of the greatest lessons. You are the awareness behind the thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. And when you realize that, a space opens, a space of calm, clarity, and freedom. That's the space where true transformation happens, not because thoughts stop, but because you stop believing all of them. Meditation isn't about emptying the mind, it's about sitting with it like a restless child and watching without judgment. And then slowly it calms. Thought you are not good enough? Observe. That no one loves you, observe that too. When you observe without clinging, the thought loses power. It no longer controls you. You control it. And that is liberating. Want a simple exercise? Throughout your day, whenever you notice an uncomfortable thought, say out loud or in your mind, thought. Just that. Label it as a phenomenon, not as a fact. This practice, taught by Buddhist masters and used in mindfulness, is powerful. You begin to create space between the stimulus and the reaction. And that space is where your freedom lives. That's where you stop being a hostage of your mind and become its master. That's why you are not your thoughts. You are so much more. And when you learn to separate from them, you begin to access something silent,
Deep, eternal. And that something will lead you directly into the next level of this awakening journey. Many people fear the void, fear silence, solitude, the not knowing. But Buddha taught that the void is not absence, it is pure presence, a fertile space where anything can be born. In Western language, the void is seen as something sad, but in Eastern wisdom, the void is sacred. It is where possibility lives, essence, the place of return. Like bamboo, strong, light, and hollow inside. That's why it bends with the wind, but never breaks. When you become quiet, you might feel a hole, but stay there. Don't run, because that hole, if you allow it, becomes a portal, a place where you meet what you've been avoiding, your pain, forgotten dreams, unanswered questions, and also a silent presence that has always been with you. It's in that stillness that you realize the void doesn't need to be filled with distractions. It needs to be felt, breathed, welcomed. It is an open field where the new can be born. The monks know this. That's why they spend hours just sitting in silence, staring at nothing. Because in that nothing, everything reveals itself. The mind screams at first, tries to fill the space with ideas, but after a while, it gets tired. And what remains is the being, a state of being so full, so light, no word can explain. Only those who dive into it understand. And you can dive in too. You don't need to go to the Himalayas. Start right where you are. Close your eyes. Feel the space between thoughts. That space is the very temple of the now. True fulfillment is not in having everything. It's in needing nothing to feel complete. And only the void can teach you that. It seems scary, but it's a disguised master. If you let it teach you, you'll discover a freedom no one can give you, because it was always yours. We live in a world that values doing. The more you produce, the more you're worth. The busier, the more important you seem. But what if real worth isn't in doing, but in being? In simply being present. The art of doing nothing is the practice of existing without justification. It's sitting at the edge of life and just watching, No goal, no urgency, no drowning in expectations that were never yours. Many mistake this for laziness or apathy, but it's quite the opposite. Doing nothing consciously is an act of deep presence. It's when you stop chasing life and allow it to come to you. It's there, in the interval, that the heart speaks, the soul whispers, the universe finds space to reach you, because you finally stopped hiding behind the rush. Take a deep breath now. That's it. Allow yourself a moment without effort. Feel the air entering, the body resting, life pulsing. No enlightened master became wise running from meeting to meeting. They became light in stillness, in rest, in nothingness. Because nothingness is the cradle of everything. The art of doing nothing is not about stopping for the sake of it. It's stopping to remember who you are, what truly matters, what's alive in you beyond the roles the world gave you. Doing nothing is looking inward with tenderness. It's giving space to intuition, to the wisdom of silence. It's trusting that the universe also works even when you rest. So next time you feel guilty for doing nothing, smile, breathe, and remember, you didn't come to this world to be a machine. You came to be presence, and presence is not measured in productivity. It's felt in depth. Now that you've come this far, close your eyes for a moment. Let your breath find its rhythm. Nothing to do, nothing to prove. Just be. This is the invitation. A new way of living. Less rush, more presence. Less demand, more listening. Less control, more trust. Because in silence, you find yourself. In stillness, you reconnect. In nothing, you finally return home to yourself. And what if starting today, you chose not to react in haste, and instead of answering on autopilot, you took a breath first? Just one breath, and everything changes. You change. The world changes. This is the art of doing nothing. The courage to be, to feel, to live with softness. So, tell me, when was the last time you did absolutely nothing and felt truly at peace? If this video touched you in any way, like, share, and comment below. And always remember, your soul doesn't want more tasks. It wants time to bloom. Namaste. The Buddha in me honors the Buddha in you.